Let's go ahead and get underway. My name is Donald, and I'm also a grateful recovering codependent. Oh, there we go. That worked that time. Well, guys, welcome. There is a misprint. It's not a redo of my keynote speech last night. Tonight, we're going to be talking about dealing with our swinging feelings. So if you're here for that, welcome. I am from Atlanta, and I've been in CODA for 13 years. 19 years in all 12-step fellowships. And one of the things that I had a lot of difficulty with when I came into recovery was understanding something about my feelings, I think I kind of nascently understood that I had some backlog of a lot of anger, a lot of rage, probably a lot of grief, and a lot of other feelings that I did not want to have. Raise your hand if you have feelings that you don't want to have. Okay, you're in the wrong class. The erase your feelings class is next door. But that's the key, guys. Recovery is not an erasure. It does not erase our feelings. It does not erase my memories either. I had memories that created a lot of those feelings. And I also developed a number of behaviors associated with those feelings that made it very, very hard for me to get recovery. And I had to do a lot of hard work just to get myself to do it. And I'll tell you a little bit about some of the tricks now. A couple of them, this is supposed to be my experience, strength, and hope. And there are a couple of them there. Just take what you want and take what you need and leave the rest. Because using a little brinksmanship with ourselves can be a little dangerous. All right, so let's go ahead and get underway. So what you need to know about me and this subject is that I am a person in long-term recovery from both codependence and substance use disorders. 19 years from alcohol, and as I shared with a friend of mine yesterday on the way over here, I graduated all the way down to IV drug use. Feelings were uncomfortable to me. And as CODA says, I minimized, altered, or denied them. Well, the altering is not too hard to get, right? I mean, that's why I was using drugs.
Can I interrupt you for a quick second? Announcement.
Yes. Announcement.
I'm so sorry. There's conflicting information on the program about dinner. It's at 6. One thing says 7:30. I didn't want anybody not to have dinner because you thought it was 7:30. Also, literature's only going to be sold till 5 o'clock, and they're not going to be here tomorrow, in case anyone needs some. That's it. Sorry for the interruption.
All right. Thanks. All right. So, I guess what I'm hearing them say is, get ready and eat your literature now. I believe today that feelings are necessary facts. Raise your hand if you've heard, or if you've heard yourself say, feelings aren't facts. Yeah, my hand's up. Yeah, keep your hands up. Look around. Bunch of us. Yeah. We're going to have a really good view of that in just a minute to see just how true that might be. That PTO up there is from Peeling the Onion. We're going to look at that for just a moment. I learned in CODA that I have a wide range of feelings that belong to me. And in your handout, and we're going to look a little bit later at a very short list of a few feelings that we might actually have. I learned that in CODA I have the tools, the people, and the venues to work through my feelings of grief, anger, and loss from my past and my present losses, hurts, and traumas. I learned in CODA that I can practice feeling them all the way through. How many, raise your hand if you hold back your feelings? Nobody. Right. Absolutely. One of the things that I heard in CODA very early on was I got a hold of, it was a tape back in those days, but it's a CD today called Codependents and Shame. And somebody named Tim was sharing his story around that, and he said one of his goals is to be able to feel all of his feelings all the way through, because he was always told and threatened by his family, by people at school, to truncate his feelings. Stop crying. Stop being angry. If you're angry, I'm going to give you something to cry about. So what happens? We get stuck. And then we're taught, I can't have those feelings The other thing that's happening is I'm accruing a backlog of feelings. How many like science fiction, time travel stories? Yeah, no. Heard them. Okay. Wrong class. H.G. Wells came up with a ripping yarn many years ago of a time machine. The guy goes backwards and forwards in time. Well, it's all fantasy to us. Codependence, to me, is the true time machine, and we carry it with us. Because I'm carrying all of those feelings and all of those thoughts from all the way back in my childhood, and I project it onto you and to myself today. If that ain't a time machine, I don't know what is. But CODA gives me the tools, the people, and the venues to be able to step off the time machine. I learned in CODA that I must understand and accept and express my feelings in order to have healthy relationships. CODA describes 3 kinds of relationships that I have the right to have. A relationship with myself, a relationship with others, and a relationship with a higher power. They all need feelings. They used to call me Mr. Spock. Can you imagine that? Not today. But I had 3 feelings: anger, rage, and despair. That was about it. I used to be very logical. I stayed in my head, and they did actually call me Mr. Spock. I was accruing a lot of stuff, and I didn't want to be near those feelings. Get them away from me. Don't bring those feelings around me. Don't tell me I got to talk about them. I don't want to use them. The whole bit. In order to have those healthy relationships and reach that goal of Tradition 3, my desire for healthy and loving relationships, I've got to be able to handle some feelings, which means dealing with my feelings from the past, learning the feelings that I have today, and being able to exercise them a bit. Luckily, I've got you, my family of choice, who's learning to be safe and supportive so that I can do that and heal myself in your presence. And I'm still working on understanding, accepting, and expressing my feelings. I think it's going to be a lifetime of work. I don't think that we ever get to the point where we're just over it. So, ooh, boy. Can't really see that very well. Okay. Can you turn him down just a little bit? Quick. Wrong one. So, okay. Well, anyway, what I wanted to say about this is, well, we're one of the things I wanted to say up front is it might be important to remember that any psychoactive substances that you use or have used, including any of the psych drugs, alcohol, or any of the other drugs, affect and make your feelings do things. So just keep in mind that anything that you're using, we're not going to devolve into something about talking about antidepressants. It's not it. But just keep in mind that it's going to skew your perceptions and skew your feelings as well, and your ability to work through them. So, the question is, what are my feelings about my feelings? So, alright, you know me, I'm going to give us all exercise. Raise your hand if, do you feel guilty or afraid having and expressing your feelings? Okay. Do you feel fear or shame when thinking about feelings or expressing your feelings? Okay. How did your family show your feelings around holidays, losses, and birthdays? I'm not asking for hands, but think about it for... okay. Go ahead. No. That was considered to be bad form. Okay. Even stress? What else? Explosions around the holidays? Okay. What else? Celebrations? Okay. Anger? I'm sorry, what was that? More alcohol, more feelings? Dysfunction. Let's pretend everything's okay. Disappointment. Avoidance. Judgment. Shame. Boy, I am looking forward to having an anniversary or a holiday with your parents. How did they show happy or pleasant feelings? Teasing.
Always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Addictions. I'm really not a ventriloquist and I don't speak Spanish. You're welcome. Keep going. Okay. So, I'm not quite hearing so much about how they shared happy feelings, but I'm also hearing that happy and pleasant feelings weren't really the deal. How did they talk about or treat others who showed feelings, losses, anxiety, and fear? Belittled. Scorned. Go ahead, keep going, guys. Pity, avoided. Immature. Anybody that showed feelings was immature. Got busy? Crazy? Okay. Well, boy. No wonder. Are we having a no wonder moment? Yeah. No wonder. Yeah. Some toxic family rules that affect how you and I handle or mishandle my feelings. Always treat other people's feelings as more important than your own. That true? Raise your hands. Yes. Yep. Okay. Never do anything that might cause dissension or negative feelings for somebody else. I got that a lot. You're being upset. You're going to make your father drink. You know, I tell you what, had I known what I know today at 6 years old, I would have been God. Because I could control whether or not another person chose to drink, and they happened to be an adult. Well, probably glad that didn't come around my neighborhood. Don't express your anger. Use anger to get attention. Anybody have that happen? Raise your hand. Yeah. Ignore your feelings, or better still, don't feel. Feelings aren't facts. Picking up on that. Wow. Isn't that something? Here, we've just started out and look what we got already. I mean, you guys could write a book now on feelings. Just from this. You kind of get an idea of why you have the difficulties with feelings that you have. Do you feel all alone? No. Everybody's been raising their hands in here. The hands have been going up and down. I'm going to get money for being an exercise guy here. All right. So what are my choices around my feelings? I can identify some of the reasons or causes beneath my feelings, and this is what we're going to be talking about today. Identifying some of the reasons or causes beneath my swinging feelings. Identify positive and direct ways to deal with my feelings. And finally, learn more practical ideas around feelings that can support my recovery. Okay, deal? All right. So, let's go ahead and I'm going to throw an axe at this one. Are feelings facts? No, yes, no, yes. Oh, yes, no, yes. You guys are like a great hockey team over here. No, yes.
Yes, feelings are facts. No, they're not necessarily reliable evidence.
Okay, I like that. All right. Well, I tell you what. Go ahead. Anybody interested in hearing what CODA has to say about it? No. Come back tomorrow. And this is one of those places where I feel very comfortable in leaving myself out and letting this program speak for itself. In order to gain a deeper understanding of our codependency, we look inward, continuing the what work? Emotions or feelings. Of peeling the onion represents the pain of our childhoods and the realization of how this has adversely impacted the very fiber of our lives. That is the first couple of sentences in the introduction to Peeling the Onion. Apparently, feelings are important here. And what we're actually working on in CODA is our feelings. And nobody ever hears the preamble. Now, we've said it so many times, we probably blow right past this now, right? Our sharing is our way of identification and breaking the emotional bonds of our past and our compulsive control of the present. Apparently, over here in CODA, feelings must be pretty darned important because this fellowship works directly with them. Now, I've got 19 years and 2 other addiction-based 12-step programs, and I completely get why they say feelings aren't facts. They don't have the tools to get down. I can't walk into my AA or NA group and say, I've got to come in and grieve some things that come from my childhood. Right? And they don't even have the tools to do that. They let us come down. It works down to a certain level, but CODA goes much, much further. Because we are working on that stuff we're dragging from our past that's skewing how we feel today about ourselves and how we treat ourselves and others and our feelings. So, let's see what else CODA says about it. You ever seen this? Yeah, been up there. Okay, so these are denial. these are the patterns. Codependents often, and then what it looks like in recovery. Without recovery, codependents often have difficulty identifying what they're feeling. But in recovery, I'm aware of my feelings and identify them often in the moment. I know the difference between my thoughts and my feelings. I do this all the time with my sponsees. Tell me what you're feeling right now. Well, I feel like I'm going to get up and go, stop. That's not a feeling, that's a thought. I'm feeling like I need to go, stop. That's a thought, not a feeling. I'm feeling pissed off, Donald, because you're saying this. That's a feeling. Go, 2 stars. I minimize, alter, or deny how I truly feel. And in recovery, I embrace my feelings. They're valid and important. I mask my pain in various ways, such as anger, humor, or isolation. In recovery, I'm aware of my painful feelings and express them appropriately. We express negativity or aggression in indirect or passive ways. I am able to express my feelings openly, directly, and calmly. Apparently, feelings are a little more important than fictions. What about compliance patterns? Codependents often put aside their interests in order to do what others want. In recovery, I consider my interests and whose feelings? My feelings, when asked to participate in another's plans. Ring, ring. Hello? Yo, Donald, come on, man. I'm going to come by in 15 minutes and pick you up. We're going to go see that midnight zombie movie, man. Oh, hang on for a minute. Mute. What do I think? What do I feel? What do I need? I think if I get up, I'm not going to get that 2 hours back in my life. I feel like I hate zombie movies. And I feel put upon right now. What do I need? Sleep. Unmute. Dude, I'm like tired and I'm in bed. No, man, you need to get up. You know I've wanted to go to this movie. I've been talking about this. And if you don't do it, you're going to make me feel bad about myself. Dude, if you keep this up, I'm going to get in my car in my underwear, come over to your house and sit on the couch with you watching a chick flick. Click me. There we go. I'm setting a boundary around that. Yeah, I've actually done something like that. Hey, recovery can be fun, guys. Codependents are hypervigilant regarding feelings of others and take on their feelings. I can separate my feelings from the feelings of others. I allow myself to experience my feelings and allow others to be responsible for their feelings. Codependents are typically afraid to express their beliefs, opinions, and feelings when they differ from those of others. And in recovery, I respect my own opinions and feelings and express them appropriately. Facts or fictions. Apparently, these are really important, and they're getting more important all the time. Letting the program speak for itself. In avoidance patterns, codependents usually suppress their feelings or needs to avoid feeling vulnerable. I embrace my own vulnerability by trusting and honoring my feelings, my needs. Codependents believe displays of emotion are a sign of weakness. I honor my authentic emotions and share them when appropriate. I don't know, guys. I'm thinking they're more than not facts. Apparently, they're incredibly important. They take up our lives, and we are trying in recovery to get a handle on these things and start treating them for what they are. CODA gives us the tools to be able to do that. So, what you and I choose to do with our feelings can do several things. It can create more meaningful relationships. Absolutely. Yeah, that's actually in the handout. So, what you and I choose to do with our feelings can create more meaningful relationships. Absolutely. I couldn't have very healthy relationships being Mr. Spock because you have feelings and I have to be able to respond to them. You're expecting me to be able to have feelings myself and express them with you. And we have to figure out how to do that. Relationships are messy, guys. And the reason that they're messy is that we have feelings. The better we become at being able to understand them, work through our own difficulties from the past and exercise them today, the more I can have a healthier and healthier relationship with myself, with others, and perhaps with a higher power. What you and I choose to do with our feelings can be confusing. Absolutely. When I tell myself my feelings aren't facts, I get confused. When I try to push them away, when I minimize, alter, or deny them, I can be very confusing. If I'm feeling something and I communicate to you something that's not my feelings, but something else, you're going to get a confusing message from me. And it may not be at a conscious level. You're going to be going like, what is going on? Something's up. And by the way, we all do that, right? You and I can walk into a room and figure out who's being fake and who's not. Anybody do that? Little hand up or two? Yeah, a lot of us. It's not that we have ESP. We learned this. What you and I choose to do with our feelings can facilitate healing. Absolutely. Learning about them, learning to work through them, bringing them up in all of our work, and exercising them all the time facilitates healing. Because many of us are carrying a lot of grief and anger and loss from our pasts, when we work through it, we heal ourselves. What you and I choose to do with our feelings can make me stay in my head. What's that? Rationalization? Yeah. How about this? Cause me to be cerebral, rationalize, minimize, or deny, which impairs my recovery. I can appear to become stuck. It can create internal chaos or acting in. What's acting in? Beating ourselves up? Yeah. And can make me avoid my feelings. If I keep denying my feelings and pushing them away and not accepting them to be the facts that they are, I'm probably going to be rationalizing a lot. When I start working with my sponsees, one of the things that we start doing immediately is start working around feelings. And as CODA suggests, I point out to them, not in a shaming manner, is that a thought or a feeling? Is that a thought or a feeling? Is that a thought or a feeling? Are you in your head? Tell me what you're feeling. Write it out a little bit. And it's a big, it's a climb at the beginning. What you and I choose to do with our feelings can help me get my healthy needs met. Absolutely. My feelings can tell me what I need. I don't need to be getting up at midnight and going to see the zombie movie. What do I need? I need sleep right then. And I don't care what that friend does. And I really am likely to go over there in my skivvies and sit down on his couch and, if he needs that. What you and I choose to do with our feelings can cause myself and others pain. Yeah, I think at the beginning when we started asking those questions, a lot of our families created pain around our feelings, didn't they? Holidays, anytime that we had anger or loss or anything else, we were belittled. We had everything that we didn't need done. It can be cathartic. What? What's cathartic? Huh? Throws it out. Cleansing. Yeah, absolutely. Cleansing, liberating, releasing, energizing, invigorating, and the really good one is satisfying. And that's something that you couldn't have told me that I was going to get when I came into CODA, and people started saying, hey, I want you to start sharing your feelings in there. No, I'm scared. Well, what am I going to get out of it? Well, you're going to work through that big backlog of your pain from the past, and once you do, you can start grieving your current losses, and it'll be satisfying. I'm like, what are you smoking? It can contribute to relapse, absolutely. And that is one of the reasons why the addiction-based programs say feelings aren't facts, because they don't have the tools to stop us from heading down that path. We'll grab those feelings, do something with them, and relapse, and they don't have the kind of safeties in the way that CODA does. What you and I choose to do with our feelings can be frightening. Absolutely. If I hold back my anger, and then I explode. Anybody do that? Nobody. Yeah, I figured. Nobody here. One of the most frightening kind of persons to me over in my profession is the person that says, I never get angry. Oh dear. Now, you remember I told you that where I'm from is at the corner of no and where? Yeah, people aren't really the problem up there, but bear, moose, those kinds of things. And from a very early age where I was taught what to do if we're confronted by a wolf or a bear or something. You keep your eyes on them, and you very slowly walk backwards. Well, that's kind of how I feel about people who say, I never get angry. When I get far enough away, I just run. What you and I choose to do with our feelings can deepen my understanding of myself and others. Absolutely, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. And that is exactly what CODA does for me, is it helps me to deepen my understanding of all of me, not just my feelings. I get an idea now of how I think and why, and I can change how I think and why when I work through my feelings. So, the question is, what can I do? Well, keeping it simple, I can choose to become willing to learn about my feelings. And so here it is. This is the continuum of feelings. All the way over from I feel great to I feel okay, I feel right, I guess, I'm okay, you suck, life sucks, no way out, and I want a bus to run over me. And this is our continuum of feelings. You, me, the people who are missing out on this next door. This is our continuum of feelings. What part of that continuum of feelings is not acceptable? Every part of this is acceptable. Every part of it is a part of you and me. Now, over the past 5 years, I've done some informal surveys, people in CODA and also people out in the helping professions who work in this area. And I brought this to them and I said, what part of this is not acceptable? A lot of people in CODA are like, oh, well, you get up over here. And then some people say, well, I'm getting manic over there. I should never feel like I want to kill myself. I hear the word should coming up. But what was very interesting is with all of the professionals that I spoke with the exception of one, they said, oh yeah, that's the entire range of feelings that I go through. And I said, even over here? Yeah. There are times when something gets triggered and I just don't feel worth it anymore. I said, so what's different? I don't get stuck in it. I understand that it is a continuum and that my feelings are going to swing. And I will tell you today that I have that entire range myself. I still get over here sometimes. What's different today is I don't get stuck. I've got things to do with it. I don't have to get stuck in my feelings. CODA gives me some simple tools. Make a phone call. Why am I feeling this way? I could write it out, take it to a meeting. I can talk to my sponsor. I frequently do mini 4 steps on this kind of stuff. And I move through it. The next morning I wake up, I'm okay. Does this make sense, guys? Yeah. If you have anything along this path, you and I are okay. Period. We don't have to worry that we go up over here or over here. So it's normal. And our feelings will swing, but why? So, looking at your handout, what are some possible reasons that my feelings swing? First, I might be feeling sadness, loss, or anger. I may be grieving, but I don't know that sometimes, and I have to go ask somebody. I don't know. Life sucks right now, and I don't feel good. I don't want to do anything right now. Can you help me parse this stuff out? Somebody will ask me a few questions. I don't know, Donald, is it possible that you might be grieving? Grieving? Are you sad about something? Yeah. Sad about myself. I'm remembering something from my past. Oh, okay, now I know what it is. I can put my finger on it and say, that's grief. Anybody here have grief? No, okay. Nobody. I may be feeling low self-esteem, shame, or defectiveness. Those are all synonyms. Does anybody identify with the patterns and characteristics of codependence under low self-esteem patterns? Yeah, absolutely. So, I could be feeling defective in that moment. Reminders of past pain or trauma, including anniversary reactions, sights, smells, persons, sounds, places. What's an anniversary reaction? Same feeling it happened originally. What else? Been there before. Yeah. Sometimes I'll be going through time, and at a certain time of year, for no reason, I start to feel depressed, awkward. I go talk to somebody about it. And what came to light over time was that was usually around times when something heavy happened. There was a loss, but the trauma was ungrieved. And I'd been carrying it for 30, 40 years. Losses of parents, grandparents, if we, had a good connection with them, pets, accidents, violence against us or others. Those are called anniversary reactions. But the most common anniversary reactions happen around the holidays. How are your holidays? No, thumbs down. Absolutely. Do you often feel depressed at the holidays? That's an anniversary reaction. We can get out of anniversary reactions, but we have to identify it first. We're going to get into that. The sites, if I see people, and I mentioned this last night in the keynote, a few years ago, because my family was so toxic, I had to put them on the shelf, not have any contact with them for a while, so I could get my head clear enough so I could work on myself. And then several years into my recovery, I saw a picture of one of my primary abusers from my childhood. And the world began to distort. I began to go downhill. I knew what to do, but my feelings were coming up, and I was getting very angry. And so I dashed home, and I got a pencil out and a pad, and I thought I was going to go ahead and journal for a couple of pages. 11 pages and 3 broken pencils later, I'm still going, the tears are coming hot, and I'm yelling as I'm doing this. And I get on the horn with my friends. And after I wrote that stuff down, I couldn't do it that night, but the next day I went and brought it to a meeting and I read that. And I was able to identify that just the sight of an abuser can make me begin to go downhill. Or if it happens to be somebody that looks like, smells like, they use the same cologne. A lot of people that I talk to have been molested by parents and other people. They wore a certain cologne. Smelling that today as an adult, we're back there again right now. Places and sounds, lots of things. Reminders of past trauma. Working the 12 steps can make my feelings swing. Over in the other 12-step programs, there's this wonderful, one of the little slogans is, the 12 steps will set you free, but they'll piss you off first. Yeah, they sure do. And guess what? The 12 steps are meant to do that. They're meant to dislodge our feelings and get them going. How many people ran into step 4 and everything was just peachy dandy? How many people got up to step 8 and 9 and was like, I'm going to go do this. Everything's fine. Or were we afraid? Yeah, lots of fear and other things. Absolutely. I mentioned journaling just a moment ago. Journaling, one of the great tools that I've learned in recovery is doing that journaling, because one thought leads to another thought, brings up a feeling that leads to another feeling, and several pages later I am going like steam through a bunch of stuff that I didn't even know was conscious or there. Listening to people in meetings, when they're sharing, I can get triggered. Absolutely. And when somebody tears up and they start choking up and so forth, or getting angry, I've learned to be present enough so that I allow myself to feel those feelings. Let's say something about that. If I'm in a meeting and you're sharing and your feelings are coming up, and say you're sad, and your true sadness is coming up and you're crying, if I'm sitting in that meeting and I'm present enough, and I allow myself to tear up, have I taken on your feelings?
Not in my book.
Absolutely. My book is like your book. We have 2 copies of the same book. Absolutely not. I'm not taking on your feelings at that point. Because how I know that is that after the sharing and after the meeting, I'm not still dragging around with your feelings. I'm okay. I've allowed myself to exercise my feelings. So listening can do that, and it's very different from taking on somebody else's feelings, and it's part of that thing that CODA keeps telling me about being present for myself and others. I can be present. Now, let's go back to something I said earlier. You and I have lots of defenses against fakery. Somebody's being fake with us, we pick up on it, right? I mean, are we codependent or what? Of course, we learned it someplace. But what you and I do not have is any defenses against true human emotions. We don't. When somebody starts sharing something and it's coming up, if I'm being present to myself, I'm probably going to echo that. I might allow myself to feel some of it. It's exercising my feelings. Doing my own sharing is going to bring up my feelings too. Many, many times. The first year of our retreat down in Hilton Head Island, I was leading the retreat and moderating a panel discussion. We had a couple of hundred people there, I think, and there were 6 people who were there, and I was just carrying the microphone, kind of just keeping the bus between the ditches. But any of us could answer it. And so somebody asked a question about witnessing domestic violence, and nobody on the panel had anything, but of course I had something, and I shared something about it, and as I started going into it, I started to choke up. And I teared up, and I couldn't even speak for the moment. And I said, guys, give me a second, I'm still working on this. I gave myself a couple of minutes, or just a minute or so. I cleared it up and kept on. In one of the breaks between the session, these walls, how they're, we usually remove them, but we had a couple of them there for some reason, and there was a table on one side where the groups were, and I was walking on this side, and there was a group from someplace up in the Northeast, and there was a guy that said, "Did you hear what he said? He said he's still working on this. I didn't know you could do that." Absolutely. And I don't mind sharing my emotions in front of you, because they're my emotions. And because I've learned something about them, I can have them. And I also believe something about you. You just might be safe and supportive for me. Is it possible? All right. Recent relationship changes, starting, ending, or having conflict. Why do we say in 12-step, don't start or end a new relationship in the first year?
Work on yourself.
Yeah. Because we don't want to have this happening, right? How many like conflict? My hand's not coming up either. Yeah, absolutely. Any kind of relationship change is going to cause my feelings to swing. Trauma, loss of a loved one, job or an accident. Starting or stopping or changing medications. The low-hanging fruit about this is, of course, things like antidepressants and neuroleptics, antipsychotics. They're geared to do that. We already know that. We don't even have to talk about it. But some of the blind spots that we may have, and this is about learning why my feelings are swinging so I can do something about it instead of just being carried off by it, or instead of just thinking I'm stuck in it. I also take heart medications. Some heart medications change our emotions. Some antifungal medications change our emotions. Some diabetes medications change our emotions. Anybody have asthma? Anybody ever used any of the medications that contain theophylline? What does that do? Spins us up, right? So the blind spot may be, if I don't know why my feelings are swinging, I can look back into all of my medications as well. Starting them, stopping them, or changing the dosage. And it's not just those things like antidepressants and neuroleptics, it's anything. If you don't know, look it up. Check the patient insert. Active or recent use of drug or alcohol, including indulging any addiction. Sex addiction, porn, internet addiction. Really? Facebook? Facebook is not a codependent problem, is it? If you all come down to the retreat, Skip, my sponsee down there, is going to tell you all about Facebook. It says, you can defriend friends on Facebook, but you can also defriend Facebook. I know people, even people that I work with, whose day and how they feel about themselves and how they get through the day changes based on what they read on the stupid internet on Facebook. What is that about? I'm having a bad day. Why? Well, I was up on Facebook and this person said this thing. It's like, dude, how about defriending it? Can you shut it off for a little bit? No, I can't. I gotta say something back. Spending. Religion. Some people are religious addicted. Something that we call spiritual bypass. Something that happens sometimes is some people will become so enamored of some guru or some doctrine or something that we forget that we have our part to do in recovery in life. And we just say, it's that God or that guru is going to take care of all of it. That's called spiritual bypass. What I've learned about that myself is that the heavy lift is up to me. Higher power comes in and plays the assist and takes care of the rest of things. But I have to do my work. A lot of people who will get into this thing called a religious addiction or spiritual bypass can run into that and they'll completely block their feelings out. Or Their feelings will go in different places. Spending. Anybody do some compulsive spending? What happens after you've done that transaction and you brought it home? Absolutely. Video gaming. Really? Absolutely. About 6 years ago, there was a fellow, he was in his 30s, married, had 2 children, and he was addicted to one of the online video games. And he was a manager at a company. And something that he did on the weekends, now this is a guy in his 30s, family, so forth. He'd stop at the CVS and buy a package of Depends. And he would go home and put them on and start playing the game so that he did not have to get up from the couch when he needed to pee. Video gaming can be a real problem. And then there's all of the grief and the shame and the denial because his wife and kids want his attention and he's not giving it to them and he comes in, I don't know why this is happening. Well, you might have an addiction. You might be indulging in an addiction. Gambling and so forth. So any time that we indulge any of those things will cause our feelings to swing. And how about the easy one that we miss all the time? Life just being life. Today the wind is blowing in a different direction. I heard something on the radio. Whatever. Life does that sometimes. Life's not static. And the thing that I want to say about feelings is that they're always fluid. As long as I keep them fluid and understand that they're fluid and allow them to happen, I don't get stuck. I don't get into feeling like I'm somehow defective or feelings are not good. Any distracting illness, disease, or pain. Anybody have chronic pain? Yeah. What does that do? How do you feel? The world closes in on us, right? Not watching my halts. What? What's halts? Oh, I got the first. Okay, we got the first 4. What's that S mean? Okay, yeah. So there it is. It's a 12-step slogan that's been around a little while. Over here in CODA, we add 1 letter to the end. And so it says, don't let yourself become too hungry, angry, lonely, tired, or serious. What's the most important word in that sentence? Halts, what? Let's see. Yeah, it's 2. Because I am going to get hungry. You couldn't tell. Occasionally, yesterday, I flew in from Atlanta. My stomach was on 4 o'clock Atlantic time. And I came here and I was kind of hungry after I got on the airplane, was flying for 4 hours. And as people were walking by me in the aisle, I was going like, one of these guys is going to walk by a little too slowly, and I'm taking a leg. I'm going to get angry sometimes. Is it okay for me to get angry? Yes. Is it okay for you to get angry? Yes. Okay. Right. Sometimes I might feel a little bit lonely. Not so much anymore. Sometimes I'm going to get tired. After I'd been up since 4 in the morning that time, I did my speech last night, I was like dead on my feet. So I'm going to get tired sometimes. And what about that serious? That's the one thing that people say. I'm not going to go over to the CODA place, those people are all so serious. Well, of course we are. We're grieving a bunch of heavy stuff, dude. But we also have fun. We're learning to have fun. So the idea is not to allow myself to become any of those or any combination. There's a story that's always told about a young lady who was in one of the 12-step fellowships, and she had just had a breakup and lost a job, and she decided, she didn't eat, she was so upset, and she didn't sleep for a couple of days. She called her sponsor up and said, "This is it. I'm done. I don't have a reason to keep going on. I've lost my relationship, lost my job. Great sponsor. No, you can do that if you need to. But can I make a suggestion? I'm a little busy right now. Don't say nothing, do this. Why don't you get a bite, go to sleep, call me in the morning, and then you can say your goodbyes. All right. So she did as she was asked to do by her sponsor. She called back in the morning, and the sponsor said, "All right, you ready to do it?" She said, "No." "Why?" "I don't quite feel as bad as I did." "Well, what happened?" "Well, I did like you said, and I had a couple of sandwiches and then I went to sleep, and I slept last night. So let's see. The two things that you could have done, you could have killed yourself or had a sandwich and a nap. Don't let yourself become too hungry, angry, lonely, tired, or serious. Call yourself on it, and if you have problems with it, get your friends in CODA to help out. Make that phone call. Hey, I'm feeling crappy. Help me parse this out. If you're not aware, fine. That's why we're here. You and I are here to help each other. Because sometimes I can't see me very clearly, and I may need to talk to you. Hey, help me to understand. I'm going to share with you, and I need some feedback. And are there other influences that make your feelings swing?
Food allergies.
Food allergies. Weather. Nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. In this year, yeah. Hormones, yeah. All right, so guys, you and I have feelings, and there's a lot of things that cause our feelings to swing and change. But we want to feel kind of good all the time, right? The reality is we're not going to feel good all the time, so we may have to stretch our definition of what good is. Good to me today is whatever I'm feeling right now, because I've learned to accept it. There's nothing wrong when I feel depressed. There's nothing wrong when I feel angry. There's nothing wrong when I feel really, really good, or when I get over there and I feel like it's all over. I just don't get stuck in it. Yep, absolutely. I pay her well $5 afterwards, so this is how I do it. Some ways that I can deal with those swinging feelings. I can learn to sit with or tolerate my emotional pain, and that is a core issue, guys. We don't want to feel like we are. I didn't want to feel like I was feeling, right? What's the low-hanging fruit on that I'd use? Some of us do those other kinds of things. Some of us, we're feeling uncomfortable and we go spend. The hard part, and again, there are things in recovery that we're asked to do that we just have to step up into. Every one of us has the same cliff to step off of and expect the net to appear for us when it comes to sharing feelings or sharing in meetings. Just saying, hi, my name is Donald, I'm a codependent. That's a cliff every one of us has to step off. This is another one. Learning that I can tolerate and sit with my feelings and not have to minimize, alter, or deny them. I've got other things I can do with them. I can share them. Well, we're going to find out a little bit more. I can learn more about my feelings, name them and their causes when they arise. What happens when I name my feeling that I'm feeling? Confusion goes away. Yes, absolutely. Because when my feelings come up, everything is my feelings. All I've got right now is that feeling. That's who I am at that moment. All of my plans, everything that's going on is being affected by that or those feelings. When I name it, if I've learned what that feeling is about, got the definitions, and CODA has some good definitions, it helps it to stop moving, and there it is. It objectifies that feeling, and it takes its power away over time. Stops me from just going all over the place. I'm less likely to act out when I learn about name my feelings, because I stop it from moving. It's no longer that big cloud. Now it's that thing. When I name it, I'm feeling fear. Okay, I know what to do with that. It doesn't have to control my life. I can recognize and release my emotions, especially at meetings with my CODA sponsor and safe and supportive others. I can write an unmailed letter. And this is actually more directly to your question. How do I do that? I had to do this. One of the things that I was taught when I came in was I needed to be able to express my feelings. And I said, wait a minute. There are feelings I don't want to feel. If I start feeling my feelings, I might hurt myself or somebody else. I've heard other people say, if I allow those feelings to come up, I might die. And that's not surprising to me. So one of the things that I've had to do is bring those into my meetings. Now, I mentioned last night that when I came in, one of the things that a sponsor asked me to do was start writing unmailed letters to people that I had difficulty with. And I'd read them to him. And I still wasn't big into sharing at meetings very much, but he said, I'd like you to go read that to the meeting. No. Okay. But why? Well, they're probably going to be safe and supportive. They're not going to give you any feedback on this. And you're going to be able to finally express that stuff in front of those people and get done with that part of it. Oh, and by the way, you can do it as many times as you need to. And so when I came in, I held it down like this and I looked at the carpet. The tears came hot. The anger came up. The grief came out. And even at the end of the meeting, I didn't want to look up. Because I just knew that you were looking at me going like, what a loser, middle-aged guy, and you're crying about things from your childhood. So several weeks went by, did it a few more times, and then my sponsor said, while you're doing this, I started pushing back. I said, look, I just know these people are thinking these things. And he said, I'd like you to do just one thing. When you're sharing, at one point in the middle of it, just quickly glance up and go back down. Okay, you don't have to lock eyes on anybody. And so he said, I'll even sit across the circle from you so you can look at me if you want. And so I got into one of those. It was all coming up. And when I looked up, I can still remember the snapshot in my mind of what I saw. I didn't see anybody with scornful looks. I saw tears in several people's eyes. I saw a few of them with that 1,000-mile stare. And I saw some people giving it the up and down like this. And I talked to my sponsor afterward and I said, what happened? He said, they were present for you and they connected with your feelings and they were validating you, Donald. They were validating. Every feeling that you just shared in there was absolutely valid, and the people in there accepted every part of that. And after the meetings, of course, people come up and give you hugs and stuff. I didn't want to accept that they really felt good about me, or, this was all fake, you're giving me a hug. No. From that point forward, I got, by breaking that barrier, by just stepping up and doing it. The thing that I didn't tell my sponsor, and this is one of the things I was saying at the beginning, you don't have to do this, but I played a little bit of brinksmanship with myself, because by that time I understood that I had a lot of grief and anger and so forth that I had to work through. And I told myself before I went in, I'm going to do this, and if anybody gives me anything negative, I don't have to see these people again. I'll just leave. Like I said, you don't have to do that just in case somebody slips up. But that was the brinksmanship that I played with myself to get my recovery. I had to step up to it and step into it and just simply do it. And it came I had to play that sort of game with myself to say, if you said anything negative to me after I did that, I'm leaving. Nobody did. I stuck around. And I kept doing it more and more. The other thing that happens when we're doing that is that it gives permission to other people to do exactly the same thing. Anybody ever experience that? Somebody shares and cries or gets angry, and then other people start doing it at that meeting or meetings that fall? Yeah, absolutely. What are we doing in meetings? We're sharing our experience, strength, and hope. This is experience. And it is strength, even though it feels horrible. And other people pick up on that experience and that strength. And they take it on and say, maybe I can do that too. Or it brings something up for them. And it's really nice being in a meeting where that's going on. I used to joke with the treasurer of our group. I said, man, we're going to start getting those stockholder statements from Kimberly Clark for all the Kleenex I'm using in here. But that's all right. Does that make sense? Sometimes our recovery requires our courage. That's what this is about. When I share painful, shameful, joyous feelings in safety, I feel more connected. So it's just the opposite of if I share, people are going to think bad things of me. What actually happens is that people start coming around and they start putting their arms around us after meetings and they say thank you. And they start respecting us more. Exactly the opposite of what I got growing up. You guys have taught me a lot. And you've taught me a wonderful lesson. I can practice feeling my feelings all the way through instead of truncating them. I can pray. For those who pray, I can turn it over, meditate, read spiritually nourishing material. What's that? CODA literature? Sure. I like Rumi. There's an old poet from a long time ago in another land. Yeah, it's something that's kind of uplifting. Here's a guy that had his feet firmly on the ground. But he had some good things to say about the problems in life. So that's kind of spiritually nourishing to me. When you and I are talking about spirituality, CODA describes spirituality as a set of emotions. If you like, check that out in the Newcomer Handbook, in self-definitions. Spirituality is a set of emotions. If I'm doing something spiritually nourishing to me, I'm nourishing those emotions, because spirituality is the quality of emotions that I have with the relationship with myself, with others, and with all that is, or higher power. Journaling, writing it out, unmailed letters, I can share it with somebody. That's also in the Newcomer Handbook. I can do experiential work. And this is something that a lot of people ask about, grief work and anger work. That's in the Newcomer Handbook, says that we probably need to do that sometimes. And we can do our grief and anger work if we need to. Meditation, Kriya, or Hatha yoga. Ooh, Donald, you're getting really specific about the yoga thing. The reason why I put that up there is because I'm not talking about yoga for firm buns. Okay? Never used it. But these are two kinds of yoga that are non-athletic kinds of yoga. They have an inward principle. Moderate exercise, full body check. What's that? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, taking a moment. It's something that I teach a lot of the people that come in to see me over in my profession. They get a lot of anxiety and they're at work. What happens when you and I have a lot of anxiety? We're outside of our body. Right? I'm here or I'm out here. But what lowers my anxiety is returning to my body. So I send them all off to the bathroom. And they go sit down. You don't have to drop your drawers. And they sit down and they close their eyes and then just focus on my toes first, the balls of my feet, the arches, my heels, the tops of my feet, my ankles, my calves, my shins, my knees. Kind of get the idea? Closing the eyes and becoming aware of it very slowly. It only takes 3 minutes. And when I do, I've just returned myself to my body. I now have more space to think. I now have the ability to do something with my anxiety. And sometimes it simply just reduces the noise enough for me to be able to be okay in the moment. Does that make sense? Ha screaming. Anybody know what that is? Yeah, it's a kind of and we do this down at the retreat too, and it's funny when you get, a couple of hundred people who, down on the beach, and we're all standing out there and everybody's going, boy, do I feel stupid. But we're all together, right? And we learn how to and push the feelings out, and we're really loud with it. It moves a lot of pain, and it's funny to see a lot of people that normally are very shy and quiet, after 2 or 3 times of doing it with people around them, they're like, and they get into a contest with the person next to them. It moves the emotions out. It moves my anxiety out. And sometimes I get in touch with anger, and I push it out. It's a great experiential technique. Come on down, we'll show you. Breath and body work, and something that I do as well. And I do this for myself. I'm a hockey fan, as you couldn't tell. When I go to hockey meetings, one of the things when I was doing a lot of my early anger work was I didn't know how wide and how deep my anger was, and I was very afraid of it because in the past I'd use it to hurt myself or other people, and I'd hurt some people physically. So I became afraid of it. And I no longer was able to feel it all the way through. And so I started, as I was doing my anger work, I'd go to hockey games and I was able to allow myself to be with the losing team for a minute. And everybody gets up and they get real angry and get really loud, and I allow myself to do the same thing. And I start getting angry and start getting loud, and I allow it to come up, and I allow it to come up, and I allow it to come up. And then I can feel it, and I can start letting it out. And then as the crowd starts to come back, I slowly start to let it come back. Doing that helps me to get mastery over my anger, and helps me to know it by experiencing it in an appropriate manner. And I just happen to be screaming and hollering like all the other kooks around me. And so I'm okay. It's become safe and supportive. They don't know any different. I'm just not swilling the beer and, letting that kind of alter my emotions either, but I'm letting it happen. That's an experiential technique that I use. I can ask for more help. I can get a certified counselor or therapist. And I went ahead because people have often asked about this. How come you talk about a counselor or therapist? Because CODA does. And in the CODA Big Book on page 11, steps 5, 9, 10, page 126, says 5 different times in the first 5 chapters, look, we get it. This stuff is pretty deep for us sometimes, and sometimes we need a little extra help. They're not saying do that or this. In fact, the last time that they mention in chapter 5, they say, don't do it either or. Go get some help and work it along with your CODA program. What happens is it's a synergistic effect. What happens is if I get the effect of working with CODA is 3, and working with a therapist or a counselor is 3. I put them together, because of the synergistic effect that's happening, 3 plus 3 doesn't equal 6, it could equal 17. So I get more than the sum of the results, and we start working it through a lot. It's okay to get focused on this stuff. And the other is I can consider the person or situation as practice. Anybody? What's that? Go ahead.
I practice with people. Because I need practice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Are you and I in here in recovery in CODA to practice our recovery? Right? Higher power or life just happens to give us a training field out there. The people that we live with, the people at work, whatever, people at school, whatever it is. If I reframe those people and situations as being practice instead of that, oh my God, I got to go face that person, it's all going to be bad. How about I learn to reframe that person or situation as, this is practice for me. And I can remain in that practice for as long as I want to. And if it starts to get too much and I'm done practicing, I can step away from it. That's a very big change from just being swamped by my feelings about what's going on with my mother or this person over here at work or whatever. That person becomes practice at that point. And I get to have a little bit of space. We talk about a little bit of detachment. Just calling somebody practice allows me to detach just enough so that I've got a little bit more space to think in my mind. And now I practice, and I bring it back to my meetings, and I learn that I can deal with these things. And at some points, now I used to be a person that had a lot of trouble with people who were quote-unquote authority figures. If the boss walked by and was having a bad day and looked at me in some weird way, I thought it was my fault. And everything was wrong. And if they came up and said, you need to do this and you're going to work late, I said, of course I will. And I've worked twice as long. We're going to change your pay. Okay. Well, I've got an executive director over where I'm at, and that person came in and wanted to make some of those changes, and I said, no, I'm going to have to let you keep that now. Because that's not acceptable to me. Oh, but you're an employee. That's fine. Great. Thanks. I got to let you keep that. I'm sorry. I'm not going there. And this is a person who's used to being kowtowed to all the time. And here's this little upstart, well, not so little. I'm setting a firm boundary and I'm saying, no, I'm not taking on your stuff. Your practice. You're not ruling my life today. I'm going to get in my car and go home and have fun with my baskets and go to the meeting. I'm leaving you at work. That happens when we do practice. Does that sound like something practical? Can you try that? I can consider AA, NA, OA, SLA, or whatever, if we have addictions that are present. And I can also, again, just consider the swings as just being life. So, some possible ways that I can deal with my feelings, that's a lot of stuff. Some of them are absolutely mind-boggling. I don't want to, like learning to sit with my emotional pain. I'm not used to doing that. I'm 55 years old and I've never done that in my life. Okay. Old dog, but this is not a new trick, and you can learn it. Absolutely. EA is good. Yeah, they're out of St. Louis. Yeah, they're around. Emotions Anonymous. Absolutely. How is this for a group of things that you can possibly do to deal with your feelings when they come up instead of just allowing your feelings to drag you around? So let's consider if the following are true. Feelings are important facts. Are they? Okay, yeah. I think we got that. My depression, my anxiety, my despair, my anger, my numbness may be stuck feelings. I may need to work them as CODA suggests. It is not codependent to ask for help and work with my feelings. It is not codependent for me to say, I don't understand what to do with these. I don't know what I'm feeling. Would you please help? One of the most healthy statements that I've ever made was help. And working through those stuck feelings, we did a lot of hand raising at the beginning. We've identified that a lot of us have anger, grief, and so forth that we've been hanging on for a long time. We may have to come in and start working through that. I can't really work and complete my current losses, griefs, and traumas until I've worked through my past. And interestingly, you feel lighter. So if I've been carrying around all this stuff in me, and all of a sudden, I've worked through this stuff and it's not there. What takes its place? Good. Okay. What else? God. Yeah. Something, me. Life, today. Okay. The moment. I can't live in the moment if I'm dragging my past with me. Working through my feelings in CODA allows me to work through my past and begin living in the present. Isn't that something that CODA tells us? That's one of our goals. I need to learn and express my feelings in order to have healthy relationships. Absolutely. I cannot have a very healthy relationship with myself, others, and a higher power without getting a handle on my feelings and understanding them. And then understanding that you're going to have them and be able to accept it when you have feelings and know how to respond. It comes through practice. There's no college course for this. I can learn to sit with my feelings and not act out or act in, avoid or anesthetize them. I can share them. I can work through them. I can learn more about them too. And that's really it. That's the key. I have the right to all of my feelings. I have many feelings because I am a whole human. And I am. I've got all the feelings. I'm not Mr. Spock anymore. No, you can't tell. CODA, ACA, and Al-Anon all have good feeling tools that I can use to practice them. Absolutely. In fact, as a part of sponsorship, that's something that I do, especially with folks who are very closed off. I give them little simple exercises to learn using a feeling word 3 times a day with 3 different people. It can start very simply. I can choose to remember this too shall pass, which means to me, my uncomfortable feelings are not permanent, nor are they malignant. I'm depressed, that's malignant. No. I feel like crap right now, but it's going to pass. I'm going to do something with it instead of sitting in it. I'm going to bring it to a meeting, and that is exactly what I do. I bring it to the meeting. People in the meetings are like, okay, what's Donald bringing in today? That's going to be some wild day tonight. But that's okay. They expect it. And they do the same thing. They feel they are safe enough to me, and for some reason I've become safe enough to them, and we all do that together. I do not have to smile when I cry. Anybody told to smile when they were sad?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I do not have to smile when I cry. When I cry, my face gets all ugly. I am not defective or less than when I experience any of my feelings. Men and women have all feelings, the entire range. But you and I were raising our hands at the beginning a lot because we were taught that we were defective if we had those feelings. Something was wrong. Sorry. Not today, guys. There's nothing wrong with me for having any of my feelings. I own my feelings today. I love my feelings today. There is not enough money, love, anything that would make me want to go back and give up any of the feelings. I live in them today. I love them. And I like having them all. I wish I could have had them back when I was 18. They were all there, but they were all pushed down. But I get to have them now. Somebody said, right when I was first coming into CODA, she was 65, and I heard her say, yeah, Donald, just keep it up, because it's never too late to have a happy childhood. I can ask for help if I'm unsure. I can use my feelings to learn more about me and heal, and this is what you and I are doing. When you and I learn to grieve, get angry, work on our feelings, get that stuff out and get them moving all the time, that's what we're actually doing. We're healing that part of us that was born as the hero or the heroine of our lives. How many of you in schools went through those drills where they'd say, silence, take cover, and you'd have to get under the desk? Anybody remember that? Yeah. There you go. Yeah, exactly. Conrad drills. And of course, my father worked in the nuclear aggression industry, and that was a big part for us too. Well, after that happened, a few minutes, of course, when we were kids, it was an interminable eternity. Somebody would stick their head in or say over the intercom, all clear, and we get back up and sit. Well, kind of what I think about my inner child, that part of me, that silence, take cover, was called probably back when I was 5 or 6. The all clear was never called. In my 40s, I had to go back and find that schoolhouse, and that kid was still underneath that desk with his high water pants. And I had to go get him and pull him out and say, it's all clear, buddy. You've been under here a long time. Come on. You're coming with me. I got us. That's what we're doing. Every time that you and I become willing to let our tears come up, our anger come up, and work through it, that's exactly what we're doing. We're calling the all clear. Had they told me I had to rebuild that part of me, I would have shot myself because that was too much work. But what they told me was all I have to do is remove the stuff that's blocking who that person is. He will reassert himself. And so today, I no longer refer to my inner child or my child within, my true self, my inner self or my authentic self as him or he, my little boy. I refer to it as me. Because it's who I am. I don't keep saying him and keep pushing him away by using the third person. It is who I am. And I embrace that. And how I know that it's part of him is because he was born with all of the emotions, able to feel, able to accept your emotions, able to work in that messy area of relationships and emotions. He's back. And I'm going to protect him. Learning about and expressing my feelings can help me get my needs met. Absolutely. No, I'm going to go back to bed and sleep. I'm not going to go see that frickin' zombie movie. Because I feel tired. Gets my needs met. I don't want to do this that you want to do because I feel something else. Because it's my right to do that. And here's a key. If I feel suicidal, I can share about it without shame or fear. I've told you in here and last night some things about myself. I think you're safe enough for me to be able to say that, and I'm not ashamed to say those things about myself, that suicide was a valid option. When those things come up, if those old feelings are triggered, because I know that I'm in a group of people who are becoming or willing to become safe and supportive for me, I can share about that, and you're not going to act like my father or my mother or all of those people that said that that was wrong and I couldn't have those feelings. And in the moment when you do that, you help me to release being stuck with this is the end. I can't get out of this. I need you in my life. When I call you, when I come to the meetings, and I need you to be safe and supportive. I'm not ashamed to share that. And there are a lot of people that I met that are not ashamed to share that too. A few people that are kind of new, a little shocked when they hear that, but then they see everything's okay. Can you do that? No, just wait just a minute. Life sucks. Suicidal thoughts. Those 12 steps stop those feelings, don't they? Don't they? No, absolutely not. They don't stop our feelings. They get them moving. The problem is they're stopped. That's it. Kind of getting that's what the message is here. It's stuck. We need to get them unstuck. So, to put it all together, my work in CODA does not stop my feelings. Rather, it gives me the opportunity to learn, identify, name, and accept them as not abnormal. Beginning working through my past grief, hurts, loss, and anger, which is freeing the emotional bonds of our past. I break my fear of experiencing and expressing them with you because you're safe and supportive. How are you safe and supportive? Well, if you're in the meetings, you're practicing the no crosstalk rule. You're not truncating what I'm doing. You're not judging me. You're practicing anonymity. When you hear me share things, you don't take it out and gossip. I'm okay with you. I learn to feel and express them among safe and supportive others. I gain the respect of others when I share, and I come to believe in my own capabilities. Isn't that interesting? That's one of the promises. People are always asking, well, how do I get the promise? There's an idea. There's one way. Because who's doing that? My higher power is not doing this work. I'm doing the heavy lift. I got a higher power and a big family around me, a village of people who are helping me. The big assist, but I have to do the heavy lift. Once I've worked through my past grief, hurts, and loss, I begin being able to grieve my current losses, anger, and traumas, so that I get through it. And I don't keep adding it more and more and more to the mess behind me. That fuels the compulsive control of our present. I continue to expand my knowledge and practice of them. I discover the wide range of all of the feelings that I possess because I own them all. I practice using them as a part of my new and renewed relationships. I love the part of being able to try out my feelings with people in meetings. I get good feedback. They're going like, wow, that's different. Can we do that again? Or let me try that with you. Okay. I become a safe and supportive person who helps others to learn to do the same for themselves, and that is practicing step 12. Is this making sense, guys?
Yes.
Are these practical?
Yes.
Can you use them? Will you use them?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We've already been actually through this, but what I want to do is kind of move past this really quick and get back to something that we saw last night. Now, last night we saw this little path, and this is just something I've come up with. Now, last night I was talking about any of my dragons that come up for me, any of the challenges that life or recovery throw at me, a way to work through them. Well, let's just change it for a moment and say that this dragon is my feelings, okay? Your feelings, my feelings. So, what I share is anything that is confusing, conflicting, painful, meaningful, or important to me. What I need to do is make the commitment to face directly into my emotional pain, the changes, the unknown, head on, and then share how I share, what I was like, what happened, what I'm like now. It's also called risking and sharing, participating and experiencing, working on myself, working through my pain. And so, here's how it goes. Something comes up for me, maybe it's some feelings. I feel what? Numb, hurt, anger, loss, grief, fear, shame, whatever. Something's coming up. And I choose to remain aware. Instead of saying, no, I gotta do something else, I don't want this, I'm gonna go turn the stereo on, I'm gonna go do something else, I'm gonna go whatever. Instead, I say, alright, I'm sticking with this. I'm gonna stay in the saddle. I name my feelings or my conflicts. Takes it from being that thing that's taking over everything and objectifies it. Now I know what I'm working on. I commit to dealing head on with my emotional pain. I experience and begin telling my story. I begin participating in my recovery. You have this in your handouts?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to run out of screen here in just a minute. And then I begin completing, and that's the key to this, guys. We're not used to completing our feelings. A lot of hands going up and down and being truncated, right? So I begin completing my feelings and completing my problems. I experience resolution, integration, and individuation. I begin individuating from that depression. I begin individuating from that great sense of loss, the grief, and so forth. Growth, healing. I experience growth and healing, and I begin, when I am ready, I begin letting go. And that's one of the things about recovery that we're learning, is that you and I are empowered to let go. I didn't know I could. I thought I was just trapped. I had them and that was it. I can gain understanding, find contentment. I come to believe in my own capabilities, and I gradually experience serenity, strength, and spiritual growth in my daily life. And of course, as always, repeat as necessary. Lather, rinse, repeat. And it's okay when you and I come in and we start grieving, and all the time I used to say, well, I'm only going to share about this one time because they're going to think I'm a broken record. My sponsor would grab me and pull me over and say, dude, you're not a broken record. You got some stuff. Think about it for a minute. You've had this stuff for a long time. You'll probably have to share on these things many times, but you will know when you're ready to stop telling your story. But I don't want to feel like a broken record. Get in there and share. He was good. And that's the case. Sharing, working through this process to get through my grief, my anger, I can share it as many times. Repetition is frequently necessary to work through long-standing pain. It's catharsis, owning, and eventual acceptance of my losses, healing my inner child. The process cannot be rushed and must be done in the presence of others who understand what I'm doing and accept me as I do, safe and supportive others. This is the picture. This is the picture of working through those. Questions? Has this been practical, guys? Is it helpful? Take this back to your sponsees. But first apply it in your life too. Guys, thank you so much for coming today.